Today, I'd like to discuss the latest development within CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk framework, an upcoming title set within the same universe codenamed Cyberpunk Orion. This was announced on October 4th by CD Projekt Red, though very little info was given on the details of the game itself. What we do know is that a large chunk of CD Projekt Red will be relocated to Boston and tasked entirely with working on Cyberpunk. This will be a massive expansion of the overall company, and one can only assume we'll be seeing smaller release gaps than the 4 to 5 years the company previously took between titles. Personally, I can't wait to explore the depths of this fucked up future even further. That being said, let's hope CD Projekt Red take more care this time with the finished product. I don't think anyone wants to repeat the missing features and bugs that 2077 had on release. So today, I'm going to share with you 5 features I think Cyberpunk Orion needs to succeed where its predecessor at first fell short. Let's get into it. At number 1, we have vertical combat. Does anyone else remember when mantis blades were supposed to be a huge feature in the wall running mechanic? You could use them to grapple onto ledges and such. Well, that ended up on the cutting room floor, of course, and as a result, mantis blades ended up in the game with not that much purpose. For Cyberpunk Orion, I'd not only reinstate this feature as a top priority, but also plan a bunch of missions revolving around vertical combat scenarios. How cool would it be to charge through an alleyway, navigating low to high to take out gang members shooting at you? Perhaps you could at some point run up a collapsing skyscraper in order to reach a helicopter, like something out of Mission Impossible. I've said it before, action and combat was some of the best things about 2077, and I feel more verticality would fit right in, possibly providing us with some unforgettable action sequences to experience in the process. Hey, what if at some point you had to run across a skyway of flying cars using the mantis blades to cling on as they zoom through the air, like the start of some flying car chase or something? Speaking of which, vehicle customization. This one isn't as big as some of the others on this list, but it would just provide players with a little more to do. 2077 felt so deep in more story-based places, yet in the more mundane aspects like this, the game felt weirdly shallow. We already have mods for cyberware and weapons, so surely modding vehicles isn't a step too far. It's a shame because some of the vehicles in 2077 are brilliant and pretty unique looking. It's just a shame players can't make them feel truly unique with their own custom paint jobs or unique combination of mods. What if in Orion we could take our beloved vehicle, customize it to suit our aesthetic preference, then kit it out specifically to suit whatever mission was coming up next? Heading off-road? Grab some off-road tyres. Preparing for a getaway? Stash miniguns inside the headlights James Bond style. Hell, wouldn't it be awesome if later on in the game we could take our regular beloved car and whack on a DeLorean style hover conversion? It may not feel like a massive addition, but more customization just adds that much more to a role-playing factor and allows you to really think when preparing for upcoming missions. A lot of the time, Cyberpunk 2077 didn't feel entirely like a role-playing game. What I mean by this is there's not a huge variety of approaches to each mission. Let's say in Orion, you wind up in a car chase over a bridge and there's a roadblock up ahead, no way around. Normally you'd have to get out and fight your way through, but thanks to the bulldozing scoop installed on your vehicle, you plow straight through that roadblock like Geralt through the Witches of Aretusa. It's 2 completely different ways to play the mission and entirely influenced by your character and their choices. The world of Night City is awesome, brilliantly unique and fun to explore. One issue is there's nobody to explore it with. Multiplayer would not only add a whole new dynamic to the Cyberpunk universe, but multiplayer games tend to run a lot longer than story campaigns, which, end, obviously. Come on, look at GTA 5. It's had more success than, well, most things. Now, obviously, there's easy ways to screw this up, introducing loot boxes, charging players to do different dances, etc. The best way to go if they're going to do multiplayer in Orion is to keep it separate from the story. Same map, sure, but an entirely different mode. Much like GTA, I suppose. I don't even care if Orion releases without multiplayer at first and they promise to roll it out later. But wouldn't it be fun to assemble your own crew of edge runners, take on various street gigs with a well-balanced crew, acquire cars, weapons, apartments? I'm describing GTA again, aren't I? It would be different. The setting would make it feel different, I promise. Just make it happen if it doesn't compromise story mode. It's a win-win for everyone. We made a lot of decisions in Cyberpunk 2077. Kudos to the devs. They ensured most quests and side quests had a range of endings. The thing is, assuming Orion is set after Cyberpunk 2077, I don't want to head into that game and never hear mention of most of the events of 2077. That's why for number 4, I'm suggesting save ports. Nothing game altering. I just think it would be nice if Orion was aware of our decisions in Cyberpunk 2077. Perhaps we could have a couple miscellaneous encounters or hear some announcements on the news regarding the fates of Adam Smasher or Jefferson Perales, etc. It wouldn't go so far as to make new players feel left out. No, it wouldn't nearly be on par with Mass Effect's effect. Just a couple odd encounters, pieces of gear, little nods that say, yes, we know you chose that in the last game. If you'd chosen different, you'd have a different outcome here. We all know they can do it, and to be honest, I actually expect them to. I played through the entire Witcher trilogy once, and those little acknowledgements for my decisions in previous games, they made me feel very rewarded. What's more, it could even bring newcomers to Cyberpunk Orion back to experience Cyberpunk 2077. And finally, at number 5, since the next game is being built on the Unreal Engine, wouldn't it be awesome if we could see it crossover with Fortnite's storyline? Come on, we could get some banana-based cyberware, airdrop into Night City to fight 100 other players amidst a cyber storm. Wait, my tunes, come back, is a joke. Mind you, that last Battle Royale aspect could make for an interesting multiplayer mode if done right, maybe? Before I discuss my actual number 5, just a quick little reminder that if you've been enjoying this video, a like would be greatly appreciated as it helps the video out a lot, and don't forget to subscribe for more on Cyberpunk and other RPGs, as well as just general game, movie, TV stuff, I suppose. Now, where was I? In Night City, looks are everything. This little tagline sits right at the top of the character creation menu in Cyberpunk 2077, and one would think this concept would have a little more weight behind it. Perhaps certain dialogue options could be locked behind having a certain build, facial features, or even just clothes. Attempts to charm could be more successful with a slick fashion sense or attractive features. Now, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but these things appear to have absolutely zero weight in Cyberpunk 2077 and make the character menu's tagline feel like yet another piece of cut content. Speaking of character creation for a second, I'd revamp that entire menu for any future game, seeing as it's about as dynamic as the one from the Nintendo Wii. Everything exists on a series of presets, offering very limited versatility. One would think in a world where changing your appearance is canonically possible with a lot more ease than most, that we get a huge range of appearance options. I mean, surely sliders is the better way to go here than a string of presets, and the limits of what we can create should be more, well, wacky, to say the least. Most importantly, our appearance should have an effect on the game world, from passing charisma checks to general comments from overly nosy and rude civilians. Hell, even Skyrim has the latter. If CD Projekt Red want to claim that looks really matter, then make them matter. Even in The Witcher 3, we had to go out and buy a doublet at one point to attend an event. Now, obviously, nobody wants a game where you're constantly bogged down by these more mundane aspects, and often gear is picked for its stats rather than appearance, but it would be nice, at least sometimes, to have to choose specific gear for a reason other than just numbers. As a final note, I just want to say what I think is really the most important thing for the next Cyberpunk project. Don't rush. Make everything deliberate. Let everything have depth. I said before, Cyberpunk 2077 was magical in some regards. It made me cry, for God's sake. But the cracks of cut content shone through like a bloody supernova. It felt more like a Bethesda game in that regard, but without that indescribable charm which allowed Bethesda to get away with it. The game was littered with mentions of cut features. That cutscene at the beginning of V and Jackie doing street jobs stank of a cut chapter, as well as a lost opportunity. We also had that E3 gameplay demo which didn't really represent the game at all. I think I could speak for a lot of us when I say we would rather a relatively concise story and less features, but then maybe a shit ton of DLC, or just a longer wait time on the game in general. Everything should feel deliberate, heartfelt, wrapped up with a cute little bow. With the promise of future DLC and a shorter but well-made game, it wouldn't be sent cascading down a 1.5-year rabbit hole of false promises, broken dreams, and bad reviews. The thing is, 2077 felt so rich in terms of story and evoking emotion all the time. It's weirdly in the more mundane, fun little features and gameplay elements, as well as of course game-breaking bugs, where it fell short. To draw comparison to Bethesda again for a second, I think something they do or did really well was flesh out their entire world with little encounters and enough hidden secrets that we still have successful Skyrim channels in 2022, for God's sake. If Orion was able to capture this much depth and attention to detail in all aspects of its gameplay, as well as continue with truly heart-wrenching stories and maybe even an ongoing multiplayer basis, then hell, you could be looking at one of the most successful and long-running games of all time. Just please, CD Projekt Red, I beg you to this time actually release it when it's ready. Please comment down below what you'd like to see featured the most in Cyberpunk Orion. Thanks for watching. I'm Sam Bram, and I'll see you in another video.